cloud computing. As we know that cloud computing is becoming one of the very common thing in our life nowadays. It doesn't matter, what we are doing in our, current scenario. In some way, you are using some service provided by the cloud. So, but there is, two kind of thing to understand that in our personal life, that means for our personal purpose, we use some kind of cloud, and that risks involved with that is, at the personal level, and another is, when your organization or where you are working, that is going to move to cloud for different cloud-based services. Right. So they are having, different kind of risk, because when it is organizational data, mainly bulk data will be there, then availability matters at that time, right? So many things are there, when you are as an organization going to move to cloud. Okay, so what is cloud computing? So it is a paradigm of for enabling network access to scalable and elastic pool of shareable physical or virtual resources with self-service provisioning and administration on demand. So what it is just enabling some network access to scalable and elastic pool of shareable. What are the shareable things are there? Physical or virtual resources, computer resources. Okay, with self-service provisioning, that means who is availing the service. That service will be in the form of, in a way of self-service manner, like when you access email. So no one comes to assist us. Just self-registration and self-service, how to maintain your inbox, your signature, and everything, right? And administration on demand. Okay, so some of the example of cloud services nowadays you are using, like email services, blog and tweets, e-commerce, search engines, photos, videos, social engineering, music, e-government. So all are an example of some kind of cloud-based applications. Okay. So, what do we mean by cloud? Uh, in real life, you know what cloud means. But if you see technically, then it is made up of massive data centers of concrete and steel. So you can see this area. So this is, you can say, the physical location of a cloud. And if you enter into this, what you will find, it is massive data center, that means filled with thousands of rows of servers, racks, housing customer data. Customer data means whoever availing the service, their data is also going to be stored into all these racks and racks of servers. Okay, so you can understand what will be, what it will be look like if you enter in a cloud data center or in a physical cloud hosting center. Now, what is the characteristic of cloud computing? First one is network access to cloud services. First of all, it is, you can understand that once you have given put your data on the cloud, network access becomes very essential for us at the time. If you don't have network access, as your data and your resources are not offline with you, you can't access them. Then, only what you need from a measured service, right? That means, in offline life, if you think about purchasing some memory, and you decide to purchase a 1 terabyte hard disk, so you have to pay for 1 terabyte at a time. But if you are taking, you need to say 5 GB of space, and you want to purchase it from the cloud, so you don't need to pay for 1 terabyte at a time. you purchase for 5 GB initially, and when after 1 or 2 years the requirement will be increased, and then you can purchase another 5 GB or 10 GB of memory. Okay, so it is basically measured service, and people or customer pay only what mm, they need from the service provider. Then multi-tenancy. Okay. Many customer in same space. Then on-demand self-service to scalable resources and high bandwidth link to and between data centers. Okay. Then business and government in the cloud, if you see why the business and government moves to the cloud. First one is productivity. It how it increases the productivity because it makes the access to the resource and data, uh, you know, you can say ubiquitous. So wherever your employee doesn't matter, your employee can access the resources from anywhere as it is on cloud, and they can work anytime and can increase the productivity. Then lower cost because many in many ways the cost is going to be minimized when an organization moves to cloud. Like if you have a small organization, small enterprise, and you are going to host your own servers in in personal office, then you have to recruit many manpower to maintain these servers, as well as power supply is another issue in the in premises infrastructure. But when it goes on onto the cloud, what happens? So many customers like you, like small enterprises and other big enterprises are their customer, and all their services are maintained in a single place. So they need only few people to maintain, these resources. So it definitely lowers the cost, and new services like any new services comes and on cloud it can be available immediately. But in premises, you need expertise for installing them the services, and many other things people to learn how to do work with them. But on cloud it is more easier. So here you can see worldwide the public service, they have global reach. You can see, almost worldwide everywhere these green dots are there. If you look at private cloud, so it is basically installed by a particular organization for their own use. You can say, so it may be managed by that organization or by a cloud service provider. Okay. Next is hybrid. So public or private environments remain unique entities but are bound together with on-premises ICT by common technology that enables uh, data and application uh, for portability. Understand? So hybrid basically it is having both the services in a single place. Some of the private hostings are there as well as some public hostings are also there. Okay, so and if you see fully public hostings or public cloud, they are basically multi-tenant environments in which cloud service providers own and make available to all general public there. Okay, then cloud infrastructure, including storage and applications, comes under this. Right. So this service model I have already told you. So I will give you a little bit detail of this. If you see infrastructure as a service, so it gets the customer gets only the basic computer, you can say, and network and storage resources. So you can say here, see here, only no software resources are going to be provided to the customer. Okay, so on-demand service will be provided like Amazon EC2. It is quite common among students. I think you also, some of you have also used Amazon EC2, and VMware, vCloud, and all these things. Kind of services will be provided in infrastructure as a service. Next come platform as a service. So what is this on-demand application hosting environment? like Google App Engine, Sales, Salesforce.com, then Windows Azure. So what happens in this? Now, when it gives platform as a service, it gives the hardware, and on the hardware, some an operating system is available, and where people can install or the customer can install required softwares. Okay, so that is called platform as a service. That means it is kind of when you purchase a new laptop without any installed software, but operating system is there. Now you can install new softwares on it. It is look like that. Okay. Then comes software as a service. At this point, the cloud applications are available, like softwares, application softwares are available as a service, like Google Apps we use, then Microsoft Office 365 we use. So all these are kind of application softwares we use as a service. Okay. So three deployment model I have already told you. So now cloud computing and cybercrime. Now, concerns about privacy and security in cloud, if you see, first one is security, security and privacy is the topmost concern in cloud adoption decision. Okay, so definitely you can understand that when question comes of adoption of cloud, addition of adoption of cloud, many questions regarding security and privacy comes first. Okay, so whenever when you will work in any of the organization after your course, you will find that you know mm, you are working in a organization or enterprise where it is already adopted cloud or it is thinking of adopting cloud. So this is the current scenario, general scenario. Okay, so International Data Corporation, like IDC report of October 2008, security concern was the most serious barrier to cloud adoption. So, the most serious barrier that people was not adopting cloud, only thinking about the security concerns, right? Then IDC pool, April 2010, if you see, less than 10% of respondents confident about cloud security measures. Then the Harris Interactive Survey for a novel in October 2010, you can see 90% concerned about cloud security, 50% are security concern primary barrier to cloud adoption, 76% private data more secure when stored on the premises. That means in the organization's office, okay, and 81% believes that worried about regulatory compliances. So, a commonplace observation is you can see cloud providers offer sophisticated service but have weak performance in in policies and practices related to privacy and security. Okay, so cloud are largely nascent technology. So you can understand. So security and privacy is a big issue when we think about moving to cloud. Now, some observations are like, cloud will make healthcare 2.0 and banking 2.0 and education 2.0 realities, especially in developing countries. So it is a 2008 prediction, and now we are already done it. You can see nowadays the healthcare, banking, education, everything is running based on cloud. Even we are, using this cloud service for online classes. Right? So, cyber criminals perspective, if you see opportunity for online criminal practices to upgrade to cybercrime 2.0, yeah, definitely. So, with all this upgradation, the cybercrime criminals are also going to upgrade themselves definitely. Then cloud's diffusion and that of social media have superimposed onto organization rapid digitization in a complex manner that allows cyber criminals and cyber espionage networks to exploit the cloud's weaknesses. Then institutional factors affecting security or privacy in cloud are like cloud-related legal system enforcement mechanism evolving slowly, like legislation is jurisdictions of the users and providers. Yes, okay, or the data's location will govern the protection of the data. Then overreach by the law and enforcement, overreach by the law and enforcement agencies. How? Because when your data is on the cloud, then it is not always in your in your control. If some offenses happens in the company or organization, the law and enforcement agencies need not to come to the office premises to collect the data or check out what is going on. They will simply go to the cloud service provider and with a court you can say order, and the cloud service provider without the customer's consent may provide the data. So that is a big thing related to cloud. Then professional trade associations like emerging and influencing security and privacy issues. Then industry standard organizations like address some concerns. So then concerns about dependency on cloud vendors, security assurance and practices. They are another concern. Then cloud users inertia effects. Technology and factors other related to security and privacy. You see, the cloud's newness and unique vulnerability is the big thing. So even today, cloud is evolving, and lots of new services are coming. So they are new. Okay, so this is the thing. Newness in the cloud. All the time, new things are evolving there, and unique vulnerabilities also. That means this vulnerabilities comes with this new technologies are never seen before kind of thing. So these vulnerabilities can be most of the time the attacker can find those vulnerabilities and they can exploit it. Then attractiveness and vulnerabilities of the cloud as cybercrime target. So definitely, the value of the data on the cloud and criminal control cloud. So there is first thing the value of the data. The huge, if some attacker can log in or can get access to some cloud, they get a huge amount of data, and there is some cloud services which are controlled by criminals. Okay, so this is another threat. The nature of the architecture, if you see, mm, virtual and dynamic architecture and sophistication and complexity of the architecture matters. And you can say issues for security implementation. Right. Then cloud newness and unique vulnerabilities, if you see, it is evolving and popularity of virtualization technology like comes up with new bugs. Then vulnerabilities and security issues are proliferating. Then cloud unfamiliar terrain for security companies. But the security companies also it is kind of unfamiliar terrain. New issues are coming. So this is one thing. Then lack of mechanisms to guarantee security and privacy and uncomfortable reality for cloud providers. So definitely, so because for cloud, rarely they have some mm, different security, I can say, infrastructure as compared to normal security infrastructure we use. Okay, so rarely they have, hardly they have it, and so that is another issue. They usually don't, people or customers don't get enough satisfaction with security issues of cloud. Then Dawkins, rare enough enemy syndrome. What is this? A helpful theoretical perspective. Victims often fall to new, unfamiliar baits or lure, then the enemy's manipulation is so rare that evolutionary development has not yet progressed to the point that the victim has an effective counter poison. Then the problem is that a user may be able to access to the provider's sensitive uh, portions of infrastructure as well as resources of other users. In, in August 2010, if you see the US National Institute, NIST basically, NIST announces a vulnerability that is a user can cross from one client environment to other client environment managed by the same cloud provider. So this is mm, very you can say dangerous that one is a two there is a cloud resource storage say user here you can say one user using it and another user is also using it and there is a partition, but if it happens that this user one can access this part and with some trick they can access the other part also, then it is a big security flaws. But nowadays it is not possible because virtualization becomes so mature nowadays. Okay, then forensically challenging in the case of data breach, like some public cloud systems may store and process data in different jurisdiction and different laws, and some organization may encrypt data before storing. So, why things are there that with this that different government and other guidelines are there. So always it is not possible to encrypt your data before storing to cloud. That is another issue. Okay. So attractiveness or one of the vulnerability as cybercrime target. If you see the value of the data in the cloud is one of the biggest thing, right? So target attractiveness is a function of perceptions of victims, right? So monetary or symbolic value of probability and then the accessibility and visibility, age of physical access and lack of surveillance are the as a reason of it. Then large companies network offers more targets like cloud suppliers bigger than the client, more attractive target because this kind of target can mm, you know mm, can compromise many customers at a time. So they are more attractive targets. Then it offers a high then surface area of attack. Then one fear is that IP and other sensitive information stored the cloud could be stolen and cloud providers may not be notified their clients. So this is another thing that say you have kept your data on the cloud and it is stolen from there, and it happens to happen that the cloud provider are not going to inform the customer that your data was stolen, and due to that if your data is stolen and if you realize it, then you can take some preventive measure. But if the cloud provider is not informing the customer, then how they can take some preventive measure or corrective measure. Then underreporting of cyber crimes is another thing because reason of underreporting is like embarrassment, credibility and reputation damage of the organization and stock price drop. All these things are the different reasons. Right. Some other are like Google discovered a China organized attack on its cloud infrastructure in 2009. The attack was part of larger operation which filtered infrastructure of at least 20 other large companies. Then information stored in cloud are potential goldmine for cyber criminals. Early 2010, LA University postponed plan to move webmail server to Google app and tailored for students and faculty. Now you can see that many of the organizations, they use Google app for their services. Then reason is that Google size and visibility makes it more susceptible to cyber attacks. But nowadays, you know that how secure Google have made their servers, but still there is no ultimate, security. You can say that some ultimate security which can defeat any kind of attack. It is there is no guarantee of that. Okay. Then criminal controlled clouds are there. So the cloud is potentially most vulnerable, viewed against the backdrops of criminal on clouds operating in parallel. Then diamond is is the only material hard enough to cut time on efficiently. So criminal on clouds may be employed to effectively steal data stored in clouds, and cloud may provide many of the same benefit to criminals as the legitimate business. Right. So, like there are some criminal and for their crime, they need the user some good amount of computer resources. But even as the clouds are there, so they don't need to make physical infrastructure anywhere. They don't need to purchase servers and all. Simply they can purchase some cloud service and use for their crime. So that is another thing can happen. Right. Then Configure virus is one of the virus that is the most visible example of criminal on cloud. Arguably, the world's biggest cloud was this one, and controls 7 million computer systems, and 230 regional and country top level domains was there available with them, and bandwidth capacity of 28 terabyte per second uh, they had. Then largest footprint of resource like spread malware to control more computers and less active recently, but still it is a threat. Okay, so last major configure attack was in April 2009, and last reported attack was in February 2010. Now configure, bad thing you can see here. Configure is also available on for rent. The criminal can choose a location they want to rent the configure cloud. Okay, pay according to the bandwidth they want. Then choose the operating system. The customer have a range of option for the type of services to put in the configure, like the attacker, if the attacker wants to launch a denial of service attack, they can use the configure cloud. Then spreading malware, sending spam, data exfiltration. So all these things can be done using the configure cloud. Okay, so the configure is a cloud which is maintained by the criminal people, and they give their resources, their cloud, for doing all these kind of illegal or crimes. Okay. Then the cloud as the ultimate spying machine, you can see here that cloud FNOS 2.0 is here for the government to spy on the citizen, because Google reports that government request for private information and to censor its application. So you can understand that Google itself saying that government's request for the private information of the public. Okay. In April 2010, a report of Shadow Network that target India Ministry of Defense, the UN, the Office of the Dalai Lama. The report noted that cloud provide criminals and espionage network with convenient cover, tier defenses, and redundancy, cheap hosting, and conveniently distributed command and control architecture. So atmosphere of suspicion or distrust among the state, like US-China trade and investment policy relationship. So you can understand that there is many other things, and important things related to cloud, mainly the spying over it. Okay. Now, threat to cloud, or if you see here, first one is crypto, cryptojacking. What is this? You have cryptojacking script, so it is a malicious script, and this cryptojacking script are going to be, you know, sent to some server, and if it get executed on the server, then the web server are going to be compromised, right? So now if some computer is going to access this compromised website, then the user device gets this hacked by this hacker or by this cryptojacking script, and extra mining malware can be installed on the user computer. Then using this user's computer, the attacker can mine cryptocurrencies. Then data breaches, if you see in the last 2 years, average cost of breach is 3.5 sorry $3.86 million in 2020 and $3.92 million in 2019. Then average time to identify and contain, if you see, in 2020, 280 days it was the average time to identify a data breach, and 2019 it is 279 days. So you can understand, once the data breach happens, to identify it, it takes this much time. So how insecure and you can say vulnerabilities are there. And then security automation deployed, in 2020, 59% of the organization and 52% of the organizations in 2019. Now, question is that these organizations are you can say somewhat secure, but remaining organization, small companies, what about them? They are still vulnerable, right? Then highest average cost industry, if you see healthcare, and they are also healthcare. So healthcare is the industry where which loses the highest amount of dollar each year. Then threat to the cloud, if you see, the biggest one is denial of service. We all know how the denial of service happens. So this is your cloud, okay, target server. So clouds are basically kind of servers. Okay, now here is a hacker. You can see now this hacker uses command and control with these pieces, and these pieces can control other layers of numerous number of pieces and computing devices. Now all these devices send requests to this server simultaneously at a time. So what happens? This server have some buffer to take all the requests and process them one by one. Now, when this buffer gets totally filled up, if this server gets hanged, okay, uh, this server just get busy to resolve all these requests, and due to that, it may happen that the legitimate users are not going to get the um, real service for which the server is deployed. Okay. Then inside that threat, like some employee who are, you can say, careless, or who can compromise their credentials, with some people who can use the resource for criminal activity is another thing. Then hijacking account is another thing, like the username and ID and password can be uh, you know hijacked by information leakage, and the attacker can collect it and use it to log into some other's account. Okay. Then insecure applications. There is many application on the cloud. Then when you are installing application to your app, you need to be concerned. Like if you say if when you are using Google Doc or Google Sheets, there are many add-ons applications. Now, when you are if you see that these add-ons, they are not provided by Google, but they are developed by some third parties. Okay, and we never heard their names. The question is that before downloading such an add-on for any of the application, the cloud-based application, you must recheck that whether they are secure or they have some security flaws or not. Okay, then inadequate training of the employees can lead to some security attack. The, if they don't understand what is security, how to maintain it, how to access the resources, and how to keep the secrecy. Okay, so then it is going to be going to lead to some social engineering attack or some other kind of attacks or data losses. Right. Then finally, too simplistic to view the cloud as